Cool.
That's weird without the 3/4 of a second delay for
I
Jared.
know. Well, it's just like you start hearing it.
More like 4 seconds.
We're just like, is he effing with us? The problem is too, it's not like they don't have internet. I don't know. God, it's like, I don't know how many people are stealing their internet over at the Step House. Just there's neighbors just hopping on their Wi-Fi. Like the password.
How
like,
dense is that public housing?
Well, he's a cop, so I mean, odds are he's probably stealing from somewhere.
Oh,
there's just everyone in the apartment complex. Well, I know Jared lives in a house. It's like everyone in the apartment complex is running their microwave at the same time, just blowing out the Wi-Fi. It's being interrupted. Everyone's on their portable telephone.
Yeah. Jared sends a message to his next door neighbor. Hey, it's your turn for the Netflix this month, so can you pay up? Because I want to watch more Mandalorian.
That's probably how it works. Anyway, welcome to the PARAcast, the spot for your weekly, sometimes bi-weekly home for talking USPSA handgun shooting and general whatever we want. Joining me tonight, when he hears the phrase speed limit, he always asks, well, how many grams is it? It's Steve Koski.
that took me a half a second. Good one, Nelson. Good one.
75 grams.
I've done more than that.
Well, it looks like it's a good weekend. Also,
more than that at home.
Turns out the FBI has drone footage of his backyard. It's Robert Wyatt.
Oh, shit. After that Rittenhouse trial, I'm like, maybe we should be doing this inside the house now?
Well, it's just like, well, how much stuff is under surveillance? Wait. You guys had everything on thermal? Yeah. You guys didn't want to turn that over to us? No.
No.
Can we have it? We lost it.
You have to sit there and like wonder. I mean, like the prosecution, they don't go and bring this out, but then all of a sudden, like on opening, like the defense goes and brings this out. You got another prosecution's like, well, shit, we're done.
Yeah. Well, we weren't supposed to have the footage that showed that exonerated him. Gosh damn it, FBI! You can't lose that. And you know him as a GM USPSA shooter. The cashiers at Walmart know him as the Coupon King. It's Kenny Terry.
All right. It's expensive to shoot 40 these days. You know?
Hello, ladies. And he brings out the coupon book. They're like, gosh damn it, I had lunch in 10 minutes. No. I got 77 toothbrushes for 48 cents. What do you think about me now? Anyways. Here's a Rec 01 slide. All done up and with the holosun on. I went out there and I shot it. And so I brought the
What gun does this slide go on?
This Rec 01. It's kind of a SIG.
Oh, this is the gun you talked about last week that
Yes.
I cannot place. I do not have any idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so
imagine a SIG and make it just a little bit worse, and you got that gun.
Excuse me.
But it was $399, right?
No, it retails for $700. I got it for $550, and honestly, even the SIG lovers will tell you, like, do you want to buy a new SIG? And they're like, well, probably not. But anyway, so here it is. It's a Glock 19 size frame, and watch this. When you pull back, it automatically puts itself back together. Look how fancy that is. But it's like
made it worth every penny.
Oh, every penny.
I mean,
So it's a
I'd
SIG.
give an extra $100 for that.
Oh, it's essentially the SIG manual of arms. It's got the decocking lever.
Yes.
Double action, single action.
Yes, and Nate Osborne told me like the SIGs will eventually break in to become somewhat bearable, and so it is. So it takes a 15-round magazine.
That's not a SIG.
Yeah, it's close to a SIG. The only difference is on it is that the slide stop, which used to be pretty tough, the slide stop is also the decocker. So you slide stop. Well, hold on.
What's behind it? Does it have a manual safety?
It has a manual safety that is pointless. So it actually, I broke it open and started taking it apart. What it actually does is when you turn it on that side of the gun, it pushes down the trigger bar and disconnects the trigger like a Beretta 92 does. And so, but it's one of those safeties that you don't actually have to use. But the interesting thing is you press the slide stop down once to drop the slide, and then it resets itself, and then when you go back down again, it decocks.
So you're going to take the gun apart, and you're going to get your little cutting wheel from your Dremel, and you're going to cut this internal safety off so it doesn't screw with things, right?
Well, the one thing
I was thinking about doing that with my LCP, actually.
Yeah. Well, we did that with the DMS, the Smith & Wesson M&Ps. So the problem is with the SIG, because it has that damn control arm for the decocker, the grip gets fat, and so you can't actually get under the safety to accidentally turn it on. Like it's pretty hard to accidentally turn on, but it's very easy to turn off. But I went out there and I brought the little Caldwell Pistolero pistol rest that I've been using and everyone should get, the Zero Optics, and I couldn't shoot a damn group to save my life.
It's because of the pistol rest.
Well, last time me and Steve went out there and we shot the freaking babyest, tiniest groups you could ever see off the damn thing, and it has to do with the damn table I'm pulling out of my CRV. So that table is like a little bit jostly, so when you get there and you're about to pull the trigger, whatever happens on that table just shifts the entire thing. So I said, all right, boys, come back behind the car. And I opened up the rear of the CRV, popped open the back glass, set the muzzle on the spare tire through the back glass, and then shot a 2-inch group out of it. And so I got it like mostly zeroed, and then I shot some stuff freehand out of it, and it's working. It works.
Freehand, is that similar to freestyle?
Offhand, freehand, freestyle.
Freehand.
Strong hand.
So
weak hand.
I mean, objectively, I know you kind of like to, love them and leave them. How long do you think before you get a new gun? Like, get rid of this and get a new gun.
Oh well, I'm probably gonna get rid of that Masada. Mr. Nate Osborne.
He's gonna get the Masada?
No, he's not gonna get the Masada. So Nate Osborne sitting there, he's talking. He's like, he calls me up. He goes, Tom, and I was like, yeah, and I'm like. It's like, what do you know about the USPs? And I was kind of telling him about stuff with the USPs. He goes, they have them here at the Boise Sportsman's Warehouse, police trade-ins for $375 in 40 cal. And $375, I'm in. 40 cal, I'm like, whatever. But he's like, I'm going to get one. So he bought a Heckler & Koch USP that was made in 1994 that some police department, God knows where, had. And it's in 40 cal, so we are talking about it.
So hang on a second. Let me get this straight. He made one bad choice, and then he doubled down and went 2 bad choices. Is he going to make like another bad choice and like shoot his dog to get the hat trick or something?
Well, the hat trick is going to be he can't afford it, and he put it all on an 18% credit card, right?
That also
because it was such a good deal. He's saving money.
We're going broke saving money.
Listen. Don't buy guns in 40 unless you're going to shoot USPSA limited. That's the rule.
Well,
shoot USPSA limited. That's also the rule.
Hey, get out of here.
Hey, we're going to
40, damn it.
But it's so it's an interesting timepiece because that's
that's what it is. It's a timepiece.
That's it.
It's a save queen. It's a $400 save queen.
Nate, yeah, but
it looks like
you've got like a $1,200 save queen with that 500 Smith & Wesson.
Yeah.
Steve sent me a video of
me. The save queen makes me smile. If I had some 40 USP, I'd look at it and I'd frown.
Oh well. The one thing
I think the USP's trigger pull weight is probably the same as that Smith & Wesson, if not a little bit heavier.
The Smith is better. The Smith & Wesson's better than that. It's a Smith & Wesson double action. It's better. I've shot that double action on that Smith. I have my HK45 right here. It has the same trigger as a USP. It's okay, but the Smith & Wesson is better. Steve took a slow motion video and sent it to me, and I was like, it was like 11:30 at night, and I pull open and watch it, and I did not think that gun lifted on me that bad, but it was like it got to like here on the recoil firing that full house 500. Well, 2 things. It's like, when you get a little bit more erect when you're trying to fire and hit it precise, and Steve's like, we're gonna shoot this rock, so I'm up here like precise, getting ready, go through the double action, and then whap, and you just see my arms just lift up like. But hey, if it was a pronghorn at 50 yards, dead like that, just dead.
And probably a lot of destroyed meat.
Oh, you would have to cut to separate the rest of it, because when you're dragging it, it'd be like tearing itself apart. You just cut it. You take the head, I'll take the ass. And
God, I watched a video. What was it? I think it was either this week or last week. I can't remember which. But somebody was shooting one of those big guns, and the video was like, it's showing that they pull the trigger, the gun goes off, and the muzzle starts rotating back. They squeeze the trigger again.
Oh no!
And boom, shoot it again. I'm like, oh. I'm like,
yep.
This is why we let new people only have 1 round in the gun.
Well, so we went out shooting with the boys, and Mike's actually been shooting 9mm. Mike's small. He's 12 years old. He's still prepubescent, but he's like, Dad, I want to try the 45. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, son, you can try it. I put one bullet in there, and then
Wait. Steve, what is that?
We'll talk about it later. Right now, we're hearing about Michael and the 45. The
I don't know.
TRP
I
or
want to
the
see this.
So I do the thing where I'm like, okay, I'll put my hand on top of your hand, on top of both your hands. And he puts his little hands on it, and I put my hand on both of his, and like I can't get any contact on the gun. And I'm like, kid, we're not doing this today. You're not doing it. He's like, all right, we won't shoot the gigantic 45. But now he's like, we shot a B8 at 10 yards, and he's like, okay, you can shoot it with your rifle in 22, and then you can pick the gun that Dad shoots. And so he had me shoot it with the HK-45 at 10. So his 22 rifle versus my 45 caliber handgun, and he lost by 10 points. You want to know why? 45 caliber 45 caliber diameter. I was like, nope. Remember when I gave you that line hit? That's right. Dad gets that same line hit with that 45, and is like 98 to 89. Dad still holds true. But anyways, that's what I did. I had a great time. Robert. Now let's talk to Steve.
Man.
I want to see what Steve has.
No. I want to
You didn't put anything interesting in front of the camera. Go, Steve.
Okay.
Hang on a second here. Let me just...
Yeah. So, as you probably know, about a year ago, my little brother died.
Yeah.
And I inherited 4 guns from him. I got a little Ruger Bearcat in 22, which my dad bought years ago, and I've shot with my little brother and with my dad on a couple of occasions, just out wandering around. It's, a single action
Army
Colt 45. It's like you took a Colt 45
Single action Army,
and you dehydrated it by about 40%. You left it out in the sun for a couple of weeks and it got small. Anyway, I fired this a couple days ago. It shoots right at the point of aim, but of course it's got those old-fashioned style sights, which you can barely see. But it shoots straight.
The funny with those single action armies is like, you can see the front sight very well. It's like bearing that front sight into that rear notch. It's like, now it's there.
So I had no idea I was getting this gun, but I'm just in love with it because I have some history with it and I've shot it before, and it's just a fun little teeny weeny gun. It's just super fun.
And it probably has zero recoil.
Well, we need.
Yeah,
I want to see Steve on the timer shoot 6. Well, how many does it hold? 8.
6.
6. Shoot 6 and then reload 6 in that 22 and just see how fast you could do it.
Yeah, the split between 6 and 7 is going to be like a minute. Then I didn't know my brother had this gun, but my brother has a Ruger LCP
Gen 1,
which I've been carrying Robert's LCP. When did you sell that to me? 1.5 years, 2 years ago?
Yeah,
3 years ago?
No,
so I've been carrying that gun for 1.5 years maybe, and I love it and I shoot it. That's the one I got the new barrel in. Apparently my little brother Bill must have listened to me and bought the same gun, and I went out and fired a bunch through this. This fires flawless. I don't think it needs the new barrel.
What? Hold on, Steve, is rolling heavy now. You know when you carry the extra mag for the LCP? Yeah, it's like, are you going to start new...
Is he shooting 2 LCPs at us? What is wrong with that guy?
You need to shoot Uspsa with a safe bucket attached to your hip. So as soon as you're done with one LCP, you just drop it in the safe bucket attached to your hip, and you draw out the other one.
Yeah. Then I have a 3rd gen Glock 17.
Oh, nice.
Nothing. He's got some nice targets, some nice upgraded sights on it. And then the most interesting thing. This is a Ruger FN 509 with a matching TLR1 HL Streamlight. Flashlight on.
You got an FN 509
with suppressor ready barrel and suppressor height sights. He has a suppressor, but of course he was trying to get me on the trust, but there was so much. It was super hard to get like all of our signatures on the same document and have it notarized and be legal and stuff, because he lived in Oregon and I lived in Utah. And so after about trying to figure it out for like a week, he's like, "Guess what? Your name's not going on the trust." So I didn't get the suppressor, unfortunately, but I do have.
And that's an optics plate. That's an optics ready pistol, correct?
Yeah, the 509s came with an optic.
Yeah.
It looks like this can all just pop right off, and you.
Because if I remember, the 509 was FN's submission to the trials program.
Yeah, so it's a modular chassis, I believe, too, in there. I think you can swap
Oh.
that out between the smaller frames.
Oh, no kidding.
No.
I'll take a look at it while you're talking.
Well, it's like.
Well, I guess you
Steve,
need to tell it. Like, where's the serial?
Steve's had three pistols. He's had an LCP, a Ruger, a Smith &
And a
Wesson
Kel-Tec.
500, and Glocks. And like, he's got to receive. He's gonna shoot that 509 and be like, "Oh, okay." there's cool guns out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's a chassis system.
It
built
does
in
look
there.
like a chassis, yeah.
Yep, look at
I'm trying
you.
to find where the serial number is, and
It's going to be on the chassis because it's a chassis system.
Look underneath the gun, close to the trigger. Sometimes they have a carve out at that. I can't see it on yours. I'm not sure.
Or on the back
Oh.
on the very back of the frame. Sometimes there's a carve
yeah,
out.
I think
you can see it.
I might need a screwdriver or a quarter or something.
You just
I need a 9mm case, right, to get the light off.
Yeah, on that thing. Yeah.
Oh, is that what you do?
Yeah.
Oh.
You try not to.
Guess I never actually tried that. I'm like, I got a quarter.
Of course, I don't have any ammo here because I'm trying not to shoot my computer. And the old live ammo in the same room while you're playing with guns. We all know how that can end up.
Well, if we learn.
Anyway, I can't see the serial number. It must be up under the trigger guard. In which case, I don't see. It would seem to be that the serial number would be part of the plastic grip frame and not part of the.
On the chassis systems, it's on the chassis. That's how
on
you
the
can,
chassis.
That's
yeah.
how you can swap
That's
them out.
What do you call it? That's the serialized portion. Essentially, that's the
Control
firearm.
item. Yep.
But that has to be visible outside the gun, right? It can't be buried.
No.
You have to be able to see the serial number when you're holding the gun, right?
I don't.
You don't have to like partially disassemble the gun.
Masadas
I'll be ignorant on that one. I don't think so, but I don't know.
The Masadas is on the very back of the pistol, just above where the web of your hand goes. Sometimes they're up there, sometimes they're on the side, but yeah. Those are cool little pistols. I mean, you can do a lot with those things. That's really neat that you got that. And now you get to shoot out another Gen 3 Glock. So once you put those Gen 5s away, and don't shoot them until you get done with that Gen 3 Glock. It'll only take you 4 or 5 years of consistent shooting to wear that bad boy out. Robert?
Man, I didn't shoot anybody this week, but I did listen to the Rittenhouse trial all week, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think that somebody forgot to tell the prosecution that they were actually they're supposed to prosecute the case and not provide aid to the defense, because they don't seem to be doing a good job.
It's just there's only like 9 or 10 cell phone highlights, but only like 9 or 10 of them, which what did Mr. Rosenbaum say to you guys? He said if he caught us alone, he'd
he'd effing kill us. And
was the defendant there?
Did he say that to the defendant? He was next to me, so yeah.
yeah, he said it to him. So yeah, it's crazy.
And then you had that whole the FBI footage that drops. I mean, like right before that, the prosecution's like, yeah, he was stalking Rosenbaum, and he was just trying to be this John Rambo type. And then you see the video from the FBI, and you're like, oh, that narrative just got beat up in a hurry.
I was like, which one's Rittenhouse? Oh, the one being chased.
The one being chased.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they were all running backwards. It's a perverse game. Did you end up buying those Smith & Wesson? What is it? Your Shield Plus magazines? Did you find those?
So I've got what, 4 of them now? No, 5. I got 5 of them now.
Nice.
So that's good. That makes me happy. But so I got that. I think I'm gonna get another pair. I've got 3 of the LCP mags, and so I think I'm gonna get 2 more, just to round it out at 5. That's a good number to have.
Were your Shield mags reasonably priced?
Oh no,
they were $42 each or something.
No, they were like $35 a piece. So it sucks. It's suboptimal, but it is what it is.
I was looking for USP parts for Nate, and I found on AR14.net they had 3 of the translucent 16 rounds of 40 HK mags, and they were like $42. So that's a steal. Hold on, Nate puts them in the cart.
You talk about a good purchase Nate made there. I tell you what.
Oh wait, well, there's the third mistake.
Yeah, and so Nate puts them in the cart. You know how much they wanted for shipping?
How much?
The year that the age that Jesus died, $33, $33 in shipping plus that,
Oh
and
my
it was just
gosh.
like he's got it, and he's like, no, I'm not paying $33 in shipping. Here's the deal with the HK pistols: they have to be your first handgun. Because if you buy something else and then get parts and magazines and holsters for it, you'll never go to the HK and go like, I can do that, because it's just you just won't do it to yourself. It has to be your first one. It has to be your only option. Kenneth?
Oh, I was gonna say.
Oh.
Well, I was gonna say. I talked to a friend. So right now with CZ, the Shadow 2 specifically, if you're looking for the optic ready guns, you can't find plates for them. And I was talking with a friend who actually runs a manufacturing shop, and he said he's starting to make plates, and he asked me if I would basically just test them out, because he's like, well, nobody breaks guns more than you, and I'm like, well, thank you, it's a dubious
No one can
honor,
break a CZ like Robert Wyatt. Send it to him.
Uh-huh. And so so I think Monday or Tuesday he's going to give me a couple plates that he manufactured. They look really similar to the OEM plates, but I mean, at a certain point, how different can you make them?
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. I'm kind of curious to see how they hold up. And truth is, if they work great, that'd be awesome, because right now it's the biggest joke in the entire industry. You buy an optic ready gun and you can't get the plates to mount them. It's like, what the heck, guys? I mean, unless it's a Glock or a Canik
or Smith. And Masada.
Yeah.
Yeah. What they should do is have it say optics ready, and then just to make it fair and equitable for everybody now, just put a question mark at the end of optics ready. Optics ready?
You decide.
What are you shooting? A burst fast fire? Okay, yeah, now it's optics ready. What are you shooting? A Delta Point? Yeah,
not so much.
Give us 5 months. Is Kenneth?
Yeah, so I shot 22 match today. It was fun. I haven't shot since Utah State.
How was the 22 match? What'd you shoot?
22.
Yeah, 222s, a victory, and my 1022. Believe that. It went well. I mean, it started off pretty horrible for me.
Yeah.
But, well, what do you expect when you don't practice and don't shoot for a while?
Yeah, so how much did you win by?
0.3 of a second.
Uh-huh.
Ooh,
Yeah.
close.
That was, but the last two stages I knew it was there, so I kind of give it my all on the last two stages.
I'm not losing
needed
today.
You needed it too.
Yeah.
Way to let it all hang out.
Good thing it's not like a team sport where Kenny's pushing like the 12-year-old kid who's his teammate. Move it, Jimmy. We gotta win this thing. Pushing him out of the way. Give me that handgun. I gotta shoot this thing.
I don't care if I haven't shot in 4 months. I'm still competitive.
Steve's got to go shoot his little Bearcat. He's got to get a 22 lever action in that Bearcat and go out there.
Oh, this could be a stage
so
pickup
awesome.
gun.
Yeah.
You roll up to the last position. You have to shoot. You have to hit 5 targets with these 6 rounds or something.
Yeah.
That's some cowboy action right there.
And then what they do is they put the rest of the loose rounds in a bucket, and you got to pick them up and then load that gun.
Oh.
Well, I was sitting there thinking about this Alec Baldwin thing. I don't know if you guys have been following this very much. Is where he accidentally shot the director of
Cinematographer.
Cinematographer. He shot the cinematographer, and it's just like it's the worst gun to ever have that. Which is you have the single action armies, where you open it up, you can only inspect 1 round at a time. They always plug them with dummy rounds so that when you look from the front, you can see bullets in the cylinder, right? So they always have those dummy rounds. And if you sat there and you shot it the day before, or they went screwing around, they unload it, or thought they unloaded, but maybe they unloaded 5 and not 6 or whatever, and then they just didn't go through and clear it all out. I mean, it is...
You'd think that they would have someone whose job would be to make sure that the guns are safe.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oops.
Yeah, well, that's...
Yeah.
Well, one thing is, like, did she, and then now her defense lawyer saying that there was some sort of sabotage.
Well, when the gun
in
goes
it.
bang, it seems like maybe she didn't.
Yes, exactly. Well, and the other part, too, it's like... So it's like, that's one of those guns where you have to sit there and just, like, literally go through it, like, twice to make sure that gun is safe. And the other part is, like, those guns, too, it's, depending on what they were using the guns for beforehand and how authentic they were, like sometimes they would load those guns with 5 and then keep the hammer down on an empty cylinder. And so
do you think that actually matters? Because I've watched these old westerns, and they fire at least 13 rounds before they reload that gun.
I want the western where the gunslinger goes out and he goes to like 12, and then like he like runs his ass off to the next piece of cover, shits himself while he's trying to like
Yeah.
load that gun.
So funny thing, I actually did not know. So the movie Heat, right?
Yes.
I had no idea that when they did that, the sound you heard of like the echoes and the gunshots, that was actually the sound that was in the city streets that day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they actually used those sounds.
Yep.
I always figured it was like just Hollywood and stuff like that, but even then I was pretty impressed. I had no idea that Michael Mann was like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do.
Yep, I think it was like 5 weekends that they took to shoot that on like Sundays. And the other interesting thing about Heat is you never see the bad guys carry the same weapon twice. Well, you see until they use it. So like Macaulay's got a Heckler & Koch USP until he smokes the guy in the drive-through. I mean, in the drive-in movie lot, and then for the rest of the movie, he switches to a SIG because he used that gun in a crime, so he's got to ditch it. So every time they use the gun in a crime, they never use it again.
We should watch
awesome.
that gun. That should be our Christmas movie.
They have Die Hard for that. I don't know. I think like June 1st should be like International Heat Day, and then everyone should watch that movie. It is so well done, and you only get tired, and then when it's over, you feel like I could start that again. Let's start.
We should do a listen along soundtrack to that one, or have we already done that?
We've
Tom?
already done that one. We've done. I tried. We've done Heat. We've done Sicario, and we've done we've done Heat, Sicario, and Die Hard. We should I want to break out an Alien for Halloween one of these times, but we got to get together, pick out a movie, and then record a track for it. And then I always like the comments I get in the emails. It's just like, that was so boring. I don't understand why you guys did that. And I was like, did you watch the movie while listening to it? No, I just listened to you guys. Like, okay.
And of course it was boring. That's terrible.
It's
Don't
3 hours of us talking over a movie. Anyway, if you're not...
So I followed a lot. Well, I followed as much as I could on that on-set shooting.
Yeah.
So he shot and killed the cinematographer, and the bullet went through and injured the director pretty badly.
Yes.
What is your takeaway? I mean, did you guys pay much attention to it?
Yeah.
Before we figured out, like, here's the one thing. Like, I hear that reaction, I kind of think of what happened to Brandon Lee, which was they had a revolver, and then somehow they got
He got killed by a blank.
He got killed by a blank, but he got killed by a bullet that was left in the forcing cone. And when they put the blank behind it, it forced the bullet out and
energy to drive the
shot
bullet
him.
out. Yeah.
And so that's what happened.
No kidding.
To him. Yeah.
It wasn't
That's
just
what
the gases from the blank.
No, it
No,
had some sort of revolver creep.
I was gonna say the Wikipedia page tried to explain it, and what it said was just kind of what Tommy's saying, is that there was a squibbed round in there, and when they fired the round, the blank, there was enough energy from the propellant of the blank that drove the bullet forward and ultimately killed Brandon Lee.
So when we heard like, oh, it's a revolver, like that's the kind of thing that you think of, not that somebody loaded a .45 Colt into the gun and was actually had that on set.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as negligent as you can get with it. So
I think, Steve, fundamentally at the end of the day, there's a kid that doesn't have his mom.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the abject truth to the whole thing. I mean, right now, everything you're hearing, whether it's from Gutierrez's attorneys or from the various different people, I mean, so much of it is single source information, and you're not really going to know the answer until the, what do they call that? The investigation is completely done.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. I was talking to my buddy about this, and Alec Baldwin, he's kind of a piece of shit. I mean, sorry, he really is very anti-gun, and he's put out tweets that have ultimately come back to haunt him, such as like when Cheney shot his friend, and he's like, I wonder how it would feel to accidentally shoot my friend. And that stuff comes back to haunt him, and that's
now he shot two of them, killed one.
And I don't. There's this part of you that it's almost that Schadenfreude where you're like, ha ha, but then like humanity kind of has to step in and take over and be like, okay, some kid doesn't have his mom anymore, and this sucks.
And no one wants to see that. And the one thing that you don't want to have to live with that too. But it's like the one thing too. For me, it's like how do I feel about what Baldwin did, and then as somebody who has to, who deals with newer shooters and puts them on the line and was like teaching private classes, there's things that I will not do with new shooters if I'm the person who's in charge of the firearms. Like, point blank, stop it all there. But it's a different situation because it's like, as someone, like, obviously if you're going to handle firearms, even if they're replicas or whatever like that, like there needs to be a certain amount of familiarity that you could actually self-check and double-check that. But the one thing is too is like you're in a position where the rule that keeps everyone safe as don't let the muzzle cover anything that you don't want to destroy has to be thrown out, because the whole point of it is like we want this cinematic shot of you pointing that gun right down that camera at me, and going through the motions and stuff like that. And so when that rule goes out of the way and then someone's not doing their job correctly, it's a stacking pile of tragedy.
And you've got a double failure.
Yeah.
You've got a double failure, and that spells disaster. It's interesting that you say it about newer shooters. I was handling some of these guns with a newer shooter, and this newer shooter has told me that they understand how not to point the muzzle, how to keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction. But within the first 5 seconds of me handing them one of these guns, they pointed at me, at themselves, at anyone else in the. I mean, it's so easy to point. And I really think it takes actually going to a match and being disciplined in the rules, like following the range commands, knowing what the 180 is and things like that. That's when you really learn how to point the gun in a safe direction. Because when you just get your concealed firearm permit and you're at home, you point the gun in all kinds of unsafe places because you don't know better. You don't even know what you're doing.
Well, I mean, if you think about it for a second, when you said this, we talk about pointing the gun in a safe direction, but to us, that safe direction is essentially that 180. It's that defined area of how we point the gun. But for a lot of people, there is no 180. They don't have anything to reference it to. And so when you say that a person should go to a USPSA and then learn, kind of understand that rules, it then kind of gives them something to like visually kind of catch on to of like, well, we need to point the gun in this direction. Well, why do we need to point the gun in this direction?
Like, do you realize you just pointed the gun at me twice and at yourself? No. Well, you did.
Yeah.
Well, the weird thing is like, that's one thing with like handguns and stuff like that. But being put in an environment where you're basically told to do that, like that's like only double, triple checking the weapon to make sure that it is completely empty, and having someone who's willing to tell people as soon as they do something that's unsafe to immediately stop it, regardless of their position or the hierarchy of the film shoot is one thing. But it's like what's one of the scariest things is like go out with a bunch of people, like go out with your church group with a bunch of guys with high-powered rifles and like, hey, we're going to go shoot our guns. And then you have like 6 or 7 guys with 270 Winchesters just whoop, whoop, start loading the gun back behind the firing line, not waiting for it. It's not great. But if you accidentally get shot on, at least die looking good. Head on over to DominateDefense.com. Get yourself the finest concealed carry belt and competition Mach 1 belt. So if someone falls with a 38 Super and shoots it up range, at least people know that you were a man who loved his family and used quality gear. DominateDefense.com. It honestly is the best belt in the industry. Use promo code PARA10 and save 10% off your order. Tell Jason we said hi. Also, head on over to Gallant Bullets. Use promo code PUPRO10 and save 10% off your first order. And check out Precision Holsters Fast Holster and also use promo code PARA10. Sorry, PUPRO10 for Gallant Bullets. PARA10 also at Precision Holsters, and get yourself a fantastic fast holster. Also, Telegram.com, or Telegram, whatever the hell it is. Search Paracast, ask us questions, boom. Robert.
All right, from Yemen, it's a 3-parter. He says, how relevant is Steger's opinions these days? Is USPSA a hobby or a sport? And are iron sight divisions dead?
Kenny, let's go with you, baby. You kick us off.
His opinion matters as much as anybody holds it. I mean, I don't give a shit what he says. No, iron sights are dead. Fuck you. So,
Okay, I actually read this question before. So Kenny, I have a question for you. A person goes out and buys a brand new gun today. Do you tell them to get the optics objectively, do you tell them to get the one that's optic ready, or just an old iron sight gun?
It
if they're
doesn't
buying a
matter,
gun
Robert.
today?
Yeah.
can I lie?
The optics
No.
ready. The optics ready
Yeah,
one
of
isn't
course
even
get
optics
optics
ready.
ready.
Of course.
Yeah,
And
get the
what is
optics
that?
ready-ish.
What does that tell you? That tells you that the iron sights, the days are numbered.
Well, yeah, because
Whether we like it or not,
an optic gun's easier, correct?
Well, it's just, yeah, of course. I mean, I think that's just the
It's
direction
not
the
easier for
world's
me
going.
yet.
It's not
I
easier
still find
for
it more
me.
difficult.
Well,
It's
for
not
the
e-
average shooter, I'd say it is easier because average shooters can't understand how to line up sights and pull the
Correct.
trigger all at the same time. To where a dot is just put it on the damn target, and then you only got to worry about properly pulling the trigger.
Mike was
Well,
shooting.
yeah, I mean, essentially, an optic or a dot is like driving an automatic car, whereas iron sights is basically running the manual.
I give the Glock 17 to Mike, the one with the RMR on it, and me and him are playing like who can hit a quarter off this target. Like he gets to shoot it at 3 yards, and I get to shoot it at 10 yards, and he gets 3 shots, and I get 3 shots. And he's sitting there holding the Glock up against the quarter, and he's just like, I hate how much this damn gun shakes. It's shaking too much. And it's like, that's exactly right. It's hard.
What was the middle part of this question?
Is USPSA a hobby or a sport?
Yes.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's both. It's neither.
Well,
It's a game.
Well,
It's nothing more than a game for middle of the road Americans who have just a little bit of disposable income.
Well,
That depends on who you are in the sport, in the game, whatever you want to call it, right? If you're
Yeah.
Max Michelle making a living off of it, you could call it a sport.
there's
For all of us, it's a game.
There's 40 people who would consider it a sport, and well, I would say this: there's probably 0.2% in which it's a sport, and then in 3-gun, there's people who like to pretend they're part of the sport, and there's a lot of people who like to pretend that it's part of the sport. That's why they got like the fanciest jersey on. They got all this stuff. What was it? What was that regional we went to down in the IDPA match where you saw like a group of guys who had like Blade Tech on their jersey. They had Federal ammunition on their jersey. They had all this stuff on there, and it's just like he's not sponsored by them. He's just putting that stuff on there to look cool. It's like all of a sudden like half of us became cyclists. So so it's.
I think that's the great thing about the game is that fundamentally it's going to take you where you're at, and it'll take you as far as your ambition will allow, and as much time as you're going to put into it. As far as Steger's opinion,
he's a 5-time national champion.
Yeah, he's a has-been, and I don't mean that mean, but I mean by his own words. I mean his wins going forward are going to be less than they were in the past. Well, he's getting to that point where that the age is catching up with him. He admits that. But
he hasn't competed in nationals in a couple of years, right?
Yeah. I think how do I say this? I think Steger's opinion is relevant to the people that listen to him. And outside of that, most of the people don't pay that much attention to him or, frankly, anybody else. And so he has a following of people, which is a very good group of people, the Practical Training Shooting Group or whatever. And there's a lot of really great shooters in there, and I think there's some good information that gets transferred. But it seems to me, just following some of the stuff that's been going on this week, there's a lot of people who are making claims about the board of directors that don't actually know what they're talking about. And don't get me wrong, I've been in that group. And you say these things like, oh, the board of directors are doing this, that, and the other. And then you actually find out the truth, and you're like, actually, they're doing some good things for the organization. But if you don't know and you're on the outside, I mean, all ignorance is fair. And so you'll say, oh, like everybody's out to get Matt. Well, are they really out to get Hopkins, or are they just trying to create an organization that's best for the shooters? And it's been nice to see the like Area 1 and Area 2 are finally starting to push back on some of these just outlandish claims that are being made. And they're basically saying, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And when you actually hear some of these things within context, the claims get really ridiculous. I could be wrong. I'm wrong on a lot of things. But it does seem that a lot of the stuff that people are getting wrapped around the axle over, they're generally devoid of context.
If you're going to have the conversation about politics at USPSA, obviously Ben Steger would be a little bit biased because of his friendship with Matt Hopkins. So like,
I think that's fair.
That's fair. Like if people were talking shit about Eamon, like we like Eamon.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, there's that go. As far as is well, just like anyone's opinion, it depends on their status of their expertise. It's like if I went out there and I was shooting and Ben Steger or Steve Anderson told me to do something, like saw something, I'd be like, "Yep, you're damn right. I got both their books." Like that would be an understanding of like their opinion's very valid in those things.
Yeah,
but
100%.
The one thing is like to take everyone's personal bias in when they are criticizing, and some people have been known over the past decade of airing their personal biases on almost any subject that has to do with the sport. And so you got to be able to take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I think you nailed that, Tom.
Yeah. Let's see. From
Kevin... Duty Project, devoid of controversy. Never anything wrong said there.
I'm sure there's a lot of well-meaning and good.
Is there something specific that's been going on lately? This all sounds quite vague, but maybe we want to just get off the subject.
No, it's fine. I don't mind. There's been a couple things. There was somebody leaked there was for a short while there was this Instagram page called like ZUSPSA that some people popped up making these claims like that the board of directors or something was like against Matt Hopkins, which wasn't really and so they kind of created a tempest in a teapot and saying that the board of directors is all up to nefarious deeds and this, that, and the other. And finally A1 and A2 kind of hopped in and they're like, number one, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Number two, somebody leaked this, and the person who leaked this deliberately did so in a way that didn't have any context behind it. And so it almost kind of makes you wonder if like one of the board members went and like, deliberately went and put something out there just to see if Hopkins would actually go and leak it. Meanwhile, he says he doesn't, but it's kind of weird that suddenly happens when the person who's being affected, it suddenly gets leaked. I am not going to cast aspersions with it.
You're saying somebody tickled the wire, is what you're saying. Is someone put out false information to see where it would get spread to?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Gosh,
and so
everyone can learn something. Just watch season 1 of The Wire. You watch season 1 of The Wire, you'll learn so much about surveillance and anti-surveillance, and about shooting people with shotguns, and about the drug trade.
Yesterday, it was yesterday or Friday, the board voted to reinstate Ryan Flowers, which was good. That's absolutely what they should have done. But then you have all these people that are coming out and saying, well, the board, why didn't the board do this back when Foley? Oh, they're just this, that, and they're power hungry. And again, Area 2 gets out and says, I never wanted this to be a permanent thing. But what people don't seem to understand or willfully didn't want to understand is that when Flowers was eliminated, or when he was disqualified, I can't remember, suspended, the only options they had were to do what they did. And so the board has been going through trying to actually like change enough rules to say that, hey, maybe there's other solutions other than, suspension, like, basically full suspension. And so they did. And so they voted to reinstate Flowers. And that's a good thing. But if you have all the people online that are trying to basically just start controversy, then there's no end to any of that until you have, because basically you have two options. I mean, if you're ever, I don't know if you guys have been on the board of directors or kind of in the presidency of clubs and things like that. There's all kinds of stuff that gets talked about in those meetings that if somebody wanted to take it out of context, they absolutely could. It happens all the time. There's a lot of like just boring stuff that happens. There's stuff that is pertinent to the organization that doesn't really necessarily need to be out. It's not really critical. We've all been there. But if people see things in one particular light and that's all they see of it, they're liable to take it and run with it and say, well, this is what you guys are thinking, when they don't have any kind of understanding of what's really going on. And I think that's what you're seeing with a lot of the Stager posts and some of these Instagram accounts. I mean, the ZUSPSA thing got deleted pretty quick, but it's still this idea that sometimes running off with only one side of the story can lead you down paths that are really hard to recover from. And sometimes it's better to get both sides of the story before you actually make an opinion. And I know personally, every time I have ever talked to, I mean, I've talked to Area 2, I've talked to Area 1, Area 6. Every time I talk to the guys, I mean, within kind of the boundaries of what they're allowed to say just legally, they're always very forthcoming. They say, this is what I thought, this is why I did what I did, and here was the rationale for why we did it. It's not, these guys aren't paid. So to say that they're trying to make this giant power just for themselves is kind of a false argument to be making.
I always find it funny. I haven't been on Facebook in a couple years. I just find it funny how many edgelord shit talking Facebook groups about USPSA pop up, get about 60 members. These 60 members talk crap about everything. It gets turned down. They all flee into the shadows again. Then new controversy pops up. New Facebook group. Hey, you've been invited to join this, crap talking. It's just.
It was really interesting. I mean, I watched the first annual members meeting, and you had a couple of people stand up and they're like, why is USPSA not doing this? And they're like, well, we actually are, and here's what we're doing. Here's how we're actually coming to this. And then somebody else stands up. Well, you guys aren't doing these things. And you have to go watch. I mean, you have to go watch the first member meeting. I don't really want to go all the way through it, but it was just interesting because all the things that people are claiming the board does not do or whatever is like, guys, we're actually working on these things. And it's just so silly that we get so wrapped around the axle over ultimately what is a lot of stuff that just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
When the thing that actually means something is our local clubs. And we don't really seem to talk about that much. And you have, I mean, meanwhile, you've got all these crazy people out there saying we need to make USPSA into this super egalitarian elitist club where only the best of the best of the best are allowed to come. But by the way, you guys still need to pay us a lot of money so that we can actually put these matches on. So, if you could kind of hook us up there. Nobody forgot about that one.
Can you B-class serfs show up for the real match and set steel for us? No, thank you. We'll be all right.
Yeah, that's sort of the attitude that you kind of feel with some of the kind of that elitist talk. And it's interesting to me because when you actually break down the people who show up at a match, the M's and the G's, they're not worth anything in terms of financials. Okay, it's all the other guys who are showing up that are putting their time in.
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
The only thing that they're worth is whether or not they endorse a product or not. And that can get some people doing, but as far as what it actually brings to USPSA is look, if we've had this argument for 2 decades. It's how do we take USPSA to the next level to become some sort of major sport? It's not there. You want to know how you get things into being major sports? Is you get a bunch of kids at 9 or 10 years old, you start them in that said sport, you grow that sport on and on and on, and then they have professional level of play. But not everybody's into this. So it's not going to be anything. It's when's pickleball going to finally take off and become a professional sport? It's not going to.
Yeah.
There's other more dynamic and athletic sports that people can go into. Shit. Call of Duty is a more dynamic sport that's on ESPN than this is. We've lost. Enjoy your Saturday.
Let's see. From
episode name. We've lost. Enjoy your Saturday.
I will now use that. From Kevin Isaac. Does the adrenaline rush from thinking you were about to be killed make you have better splits? Rittenhouse seemed to have some good splits. He did. 0.76 for 4 shots. That's pretty sporty. I mean, Jared Stepp would be impressed.
Jared Stepp would outrun that damn trigger. Do you have another one?
Sorry. I'm just like writing stuff down.
No worries.
From Ron, why do you consider Revolver and single stack divisions boomer divisions? Surely having extremely limited ammo capacity increases the difficulty level. That's actually really easy because the only people that want to shoot them are boomers.
Well, the only people that want to shoot them are the people who love them enough to stay in there to shoot it. And the problem is it's like if you go to a competition, Kenny, why don't you shoot limited 10?
Because I want to shoot with competition.
At a competition?
And also, yeah.
He wants to shoot with the heat. He wants to have competition.
Revolver and single stack make it more difficult?
Ha-
Less rounds in the gun drives the hit factor down, which means it's easier.
Well, it's more cerebral.
Theoretically,
that's the biggest thing. I mean, that's what who's a John McClane always said. I mean, the thing about limited divisions like that or low cap divisions is that it makes the game more cerebral, and you have to actually think about it. It's not like you basically load the magazines up or load the gun up, have one reload anywhere in the stage that you happen to have a free moment, and then you just keep blasting around.
There's no fudge
you
factor.
do have to think a little bit more with the more less capacity divisions.
The question was why it was a boomer division? Well, because there's not that many people that shoot revolvers anymore, and there's even fewer that shoot revolvers in USPSA.
Well, I mean, there's young people that shoot revolvers. It's just eventually going to go into the position where people want to actually compete. Like, it's at a certain level when there's 20 guys in the division, and you're the top of that division, it's fun. When there's 6 people in that division, it's not fun. It's not fun anymore because it's just, unless you're competing with, if it's you and Jerry Michelik, have fun in Revolver division. That sounds like a great 2-man race. You know,
I don't know if that's like kind of the chicken and the egg thing or whatever, but it does seem that there for a little while, if you're like, top of the heap in Revolver, you're like, cool, I'm top of the heap in Revolver, until you look down the list of participants and you're like, well, there was only 3 people and the guy closest to you was 65 years old.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, okay, I'm going to take this division champion trophy. There's a fireplace, and you chuck it in there. Well, because it just doesn't mean anything anymore. All the talent has gone everywhere else. And at the end of the day, we are still playing a game that has winners and losers. And I know that whole thing about, like, oh, you're only competing within your division, all that are BS. No, we're competing against everybody. and everybody, if you're just getting waxed by every other person in there, and the only people you're beating they basically went home to watch Matlock, it's not really a competition anymore.
Well, the other thing, too, is like, there's other great places for freaking Revolver competition, I-Corps and
IDPA,
Bianchi Cup and stuff like you could have a good place to do it. I mean, listen, I've gotten waxed by Mark and Steve Terry with open revolvers plenty of effing times. Like, it's not hard with their spring-loaded freaking speed moon clip feeders and like. There's a place for it, but it's all about the competition, and it's wherever people want to buy the guns and they want to compete in the guns. That's where it's going to be. Open, limited, carry optics, PCC. That's the sport. So,
from Sean Edmonds, isn't it time to have the other Kenny on as a guest? Kenny's on. I don't know who this other Kenny is.
There's only one Kenny.
There's only one.
We can ask Kenny Platt on, because Robert has essentially went into Kenny Platt's argument is like, let everybody shoot everything in every division. So now we can have a fight with Kenny Platt and Robert Wyatt on one side, a formidable tag team of people, edgelords who are willing to just piss everybody off by saying, well, why not? Why not have a PCC in production? Just give it 10 rounds. It's got a trigger. It's got a hammer. Why not?
Hey, I like the way you think. I'm willing to put a brace on there and still call it a pistol. It's totally legit. If you want, I'll even pull it from a holster.
Who needs division rules?
Again from Ron. Match concept. A cheap production pistol, 5 magazines total, and appropriate mag pouches are purchased from entry fees. Everyone uses that gun. Starts are all table starts, so no holster is needed. Winner keeps the gun. USPSA rules. Thoughts? I think Kenny would get a lot of guns.
Let's do this.
It sounds like the greatest freaking division ever. And essentially what you're asking for is single stack. But you're asking for single stack with a different gun. There's the thing, what is it? What do they call it? Balance of They have it in racing.
Speed,
Like
accuracy, and power.
well, it's a balance of performance, right? So it's a performance balance. So your car weighs this much, has this much horsepower. Make it weigh this much, or cut down this horsepower.
Oh yeah, sure.
So all these cars are generally equal. Like some of them might be able to turn better, some of them might have a better like acceleration, but essentially they're all balanced out, and that is like the perfect division. Hold on, kids. This is going to get interesting. Like, let's imagine that, like, they all had to be, like, under 40 ounces and have 10 rounds in the magazine of 9mm. What a cool division with that. Oh, that's right. We killed it. We took it out back and we shot it in the head. That's right. Now I remember. I remember now.
Oh, we didn't kill it. It killed itself. Unfortunately, I got to agree with Blanton on this. I mean, the 10-round thing destroyed production.
Well, even if you had it 15 rounds, if you had it a stock gun, people wouldn't like it because they'd go like, well, I want to make this thing shoot better. And then so like, now it's a trigger, now it's a tungsten guide rod, now it's some steel pins to make it weigh a certain amount. It's like, everyone would try to push the rules out. No,
but does it matter? I mean, I hate to like kind of like
yes, because it keeps the division alive. If you just take the lid off. Steve.
I mean, the people who are winning they're winning these things. They have guns left, right, and center. You know, plastic guns, super heavyweight guns. And what does that tell you? It tells you that the gun doesn't so much matter as the guy behind the gun pulling the trigger. And so if that's the case,
but eventually it bleeds out.
We just let the people shoot the gun. I mean, I don't know that this adherence to this idea of production. I mean, production at its inset or at the beginning was good, and I understand it. But we've gone to this point where you have people that are winning with just this wide variety of guns that don't. There's no commonality between them. Hammer fire, striker fire, this, that, or the other, and they're obviously winning. They're doing extremely well, and so it's like, well, if the gun falls under this category that we've determined, then let them play. I mean, okay, well, we're going to say 10-round mags. Okay, fine.
So production used to be a huge division, and now it's shrinking and shrinking.
Carry Optics destroyed it.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead,
so that's the difference, is that production had its place in time.
Yeah.
And now it's Carry Optics' place in time, just with the development and the better reliability of the optics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the reliability is the key.
Yeah.
I mean, because it used to be you couldn't get 10,000 rounds out of one, and you had to be willing to just be buying, and repairing and repairing and repairing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, this one might last for years without being sent back to the manufacturer, or maybe even forever. We're almost getting to the forever point, right?
Yeah.
Well, especially with the warranties now,
like
too. If you got the warranty. Well, the one thing is, too, is like, if we had this division, it's like everyone seems to like that, like, it's a Glock 17 MOS with a Holosun 507C on it. You get a double alpha belt. You get three 17-round magazines. That's the division. Don't touch it. We're going to IPSC. We're going to put weights on the damn trigger. You take anything out of it, you modify it, you're disqualified or whatever.
Well, now we start playing the game modification. I mean, like, what is modification?
Nothing.
I mean,
we give you the parts.
Well, like the caller said, you have to shoot the match gun. Everyone shoots the same gun.
Okay, well, I'm left-handed, and so now I'm at a disadvantage, a perceived disadvantage, potentially.
Sucks for you. Learn to shoot right-handed.
Exactly. Tim Herron shooting in 1911. Nate Osborne signature Sig 226. Get
sure,
over it, Robert.
I can do
Get
it.
over it.
It's still the point that you've now created a game that is not equal to all.
We will switch.
Right?
We will switch. We'll get Gen 5 Glock 17s. We'll switch the magazine release over to one side for you if you want. That's the gun. I mean, like people would do that, and like that is an actual division that you could make a sport. It'd just be like, here's the 10 best shooters in USPSA. They all have the same gun. They all have the same equipment.
Oh yeah.
But they wouldn't do it because of sponsors. Like, they wouldn't do it because of sponsors, and USPSA wouldn't do it because of sponsors. Because no one, Smith & Wesson's going to cut a $20,000 check, and no one's going to be like, I don't want to shoot a Smith & Wesson M&P for it.
Yeah.
We're our worst enemies. Just to let everyone know, we're our worst enemies.
Oh yeah, I've seen more gun owners turn other gun owners in than the other way around. Gun owners are horrible people. From Sebastian Munoz, why are memory stages a thing? What shooting challenge is tested?
I only like memory stages when I crush Steve on them. And then they give me like a 5%. They give me like a 5% mass boost every time one of them comes up, and I'm like, thank God. He's either going to forget one target or shoot an entire array from the wrong position. Ah, breathing room. And I just lean back.
I don't want to talk about memory stages.
Don't worry, Steve. Tommy will screw something else up, and you'll catch him.
It has to be equipment, and I got a good streak going. Kenny, memory stages.
Oh, they don't test anything shooting wise, right? It's just they test your mental capacity, same as long running stages test your physical capacity.
Well,
I love them. I'm not gonna lie, I love them.
I've shot him. Sorry, Kenny,
so
go.
Should we be testing the mental capacity and the physical capacity of the shooters, or should we just be testing pure shooting skill?
Sure.
Well, I think this is.
I don't
this
care
is
either
USPSA.
way. I mean, yeah, we always have, as long as the game's been around that I know of, it's always tested your physical capacity.
Yeah.
And your mental capacity has always been tested at least a little bit.
Well,
I'm not great at memory stages. I just always find them different. I mean, nowadays you see stages that they're so simple that you could walk at 2 minutes, you're done, walk away.
Yeah.
So I feel like memory stage is something that makes you think a little bit.
I think, and I am legitimately not bagging on IDPA, but if you don't want memory stages and you just want somebody just to tell you what to do, go here, do this, well, shoot IDPA, because every single stage in USPSA by comparison is a bit of a memory stage. You have to go and determine, which way you're going to go, do this, shoot these things here. Now, I understand what they're talking about when he asked the question. I mean, things like Dirk's stage at Utah State, where there's certainly a challenge to it, but I think that's fun. I mean, what skill is being tested? Your ability under pressure to remember everything needs to get shot.
Yes, well, it's like
extreme stage prep test. Because here's a stage that some people could be prepped for in 15 minutes, but with my memory, it would take me about an hour and a half to know exactly where to go and stand and shoot. And it's just, you have to move half inch right here, shoot these two. You have to lean a little bit left, shoot three targets, take 2 steps to the right, shoot 3, lean left, shoot 1. It's like, that's just extremely hard for me to remember.
Well, the one thing too is like we like USPSA because we get to run around with guns in our hands and have to shoot things correctly. If we just wanted to shoot things correctly and that was a skill, we'd be shooting a different sport. Because the whole fun is like keeping your stuff together, like keeping all your fecal matter intact during this time. And it's like, and that's why people like it. Because like, hey, this guy's way faster, but this guy's like a much better shot. And he's like, has a better mental game. Who wins? It's like, it's the combination that all of them that make the greats. So
I'm kind of with Kenny. I mean, I think they're enjoyable. They're just a part of the game.
And they're perfectly legal, and you'll never be able to rule them out by changing the rule set, because like Robert said, it's a continuum. Every stage has some memory to it. Some have more options, and then some are like Dirk's stage, which
you're like,
take
oh
an hour
my
and a half
gosh.
to
I
prepare
got a way we can sort this out, right? So we have a 125 power factor ammo for like calibration. We go get a certified 80 IQ guy. He's 80 IQ. He's like right on the normal. And like we send him out there. We go,
Just get a revolver shooter.
Yeah, we go, Tim, put down the coloring book. Tim, okay, hold on.
Are we talking about heron?
We want you. We want you to go through. We want you to look at this, and we want you to come up with a plan. If he can't come up with a plan that addresses aiming and hitting every single target
In 5 minutes.
in 5 minutes, toss it out. Tim can't do it. Get it out. Then they drop 2 barrels, they add 2 windows, and then it becomes a regular USPSA stage. But I think that's the only way we can do it.
Last question from JC. Tom and Steve, now that you two have been shooting IDPA again, have your opinions changed on how the sport is ran today? For example, 1 second per point down.
Steve, go first.
I still don't like that. I think that was a bad change. No change here. But what do you think, Tom?
I'm having more fun with it because it seems like people in the past couple years since I stopped shooting it and since I've come back have been able to use the fault lines and the way that the stages are laid out to give people some options. Like, it's not USPSA options, but really in USPSA you might have 2, maybe if it's a really creative plan, have a third kind of option in running the stage. But it's like on some of these IDPA stages, it's like I can engage this one, or I can go to the left and engage at this one. And then the IDPA rulebook about shooting things in tactical priority presents a different option for which way you go, right? Because in
we had a few options last month. We didn't have tons of options, but there were 3 or 4 options in the match of how to shoot different things.
And if you went one way or another one, like you could get yourself into a penalty trap because you're exposing yourself to one target, not shooting in tactical priority or tactical sequence. So it's kind of an interesting game. Is like you can get options, but unlike USPSA where you engage anything in any order, that changes your mindset on how you want to do that. It's like if I go here, then I have to stop at this specific point, engage this target before I move on. And so it's an interesting thing, and I think people are starting to get the hang of it. So I am happy with it. At a point down, a second per point down, I don't like it. With a dot, it seems to become more manageable. Because me and Steve both landed 2 down zeros on a head at 20 yards with the dots. And so it seems to be less punishing, especially with the dot guns.
So are the two of you going to go shoot the Utah State match that WDSA is hosting next year at Uspsa?
I am actively reading I'm actively getting certified to become an SO again, so I can do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I'll probably work that match.
Like it, you get nostalgic. You start buying a bunch of double action pistols, and then go back to the sport you started shooting. It's just fun. That's it. And it's like I'm here to have fun, and they seem to be doing a good job up there. And I am willing to shoot IDPA. So whether or not I think that me being aggressive on a target and hanging 3 down 3s is fair, it's one thing. But you try to shoot a standstill target while the activator goes down, and then before it disappears, and so you're being all sporty, and then you realize it cost you about 4 seconds in points down.
Because you never know when you're on the mean streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin, and you're gonna have an activator. I mean, that guy just like picking his head up out of the barrel, and then he hides, and then he comes back up, and then he hides.
we need targets that shout "F you" and then fire 3 shots at you. And then don't expect to be shot. Anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for subscribing. We love you guys for doing all that stuff. Head on over, check out the sponsors, Dominate Defense, Precision Holsters, and GallonBullets.com. Do all that stuff. Have fun. Go out there. Shoot with your kids. Teach your kids safe muzzle discipline and how to clear a gun. You know what? Everyone get a single action army in 22, and then that will teach you everything you need to know about being safe and clearing a firearm. I don't even know. Do they make those anymore, Steve?
Oh, heck yes.
I don't know.
Single action army in 20.
No.
Oh, Bearcats. The Ruger Bearcat.
Oh gosh, I don't know about that, but I do know that Ruger does have. They're probably called what do you call those things? Vaqueros or Blackhawks. It's probably not Blackhawk, but they do make them. The 22 in a single action gun, there's so much weight that you just giggle when you shoot them because there's no recoil to them. They're just a hoot.
It's a pleasant little gun. And I was reading about the Brandon Lee shooting, and so apparently, at least this article I saw, one of the live rounds that had been used, not live rounds, but a case with a bullet seated in it.
Yes.
So that the gun looks realistic
it looked
from
like
the
it was
front,
loaded. Yeah.
So that it looks realistic from the front. Somehow that bullet became dislodged, fell into the forcing cone, and then when they unloaded the gun, because of course when you're unloading it, you're not actually, the ejector rod doesn't go down the barrel, it goes next to the barrel.
Yep.
So that you wouldn't know unless you were looking at every single case that came out of the gun and making sure it had a bullet. And then you look down the barrel.
In that case, it was the cylinder came out, and they just dropped the star. Cases come out. They're like, okay, and then if you don't ever think to look any further.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And so the bullet came loose, fell into the forcing cone somehow, and then you put a blank behind it. Yeah, and you essentially got a live round again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's Revolver Creep. So if you have dummy rounds and you fire or use dummy rounds enough in like a revolver with recoil, the bullet will start to creep out, and that's where they have the cannular on the
cannular.
on revolver.
Well, the
cartridge.
canniler.
Yeah, the canniler.
Yeah, that's so that it doesn't have a setback.
Yep.
As much.
As
Or
much.
You
As much,
can
yeah.
still pull them out with enough recoil. You can still pull the bullets long.
Oh, yeah,
and even tie up
absolutely.
the gun.
Yeah, and so
ideally you're because they always talk about with revolvers like
Crimp
semi-auto.
the shit out. Yeah.
I mean, but revolvers. I mean, you're like. "Urgh."
yeah,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
really really tied into it.
yeah. So, a lot of everyone could do themselves a favor by having like an 8mm wooden dowel, just in the range bag for that kind of stuff like that. But anyways, I did all that stuff. I'm Tom Nelson for Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, and Kenny Terry, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good night, everybody.
Toot toot.
Go buy a USP for $375 and 40 cal.
Don't hate yourself.
That was made before Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House.
Don't do it.